Good afternoon. I'm Micheal Templeton. I'm a lawyer with Pape, Teillet, a firm that I'm sure many of you recognize. We've had a long-standing relationship with the Métis Nation of Ontario and have done lots of work. I've certainly enjoyed working on a number of projects with the MNO. I also have the pleasure to be one of the trustees of the Métis Nation of Ontario Infinity Trust. So what is the Infinity Trust? So the Métis Nation of Ontario Infinity Trust was established by a trust indenture back in December of 2012. A trust indenture is basically simply a legal agreement between the trustees and the beneficiary of a trust. A trust is a legal relationship where the trustees hold legal property, but they don't have any interest in that property. They hold it, they have legal title solely for the benefit of the beneficiary. In this case, the beneficiary, the sole beneficiary of the Infinity Trust is the MNO Secretariat, which is the legal and governing body of the Métis Nation of Ontario. So the Infinity Trust owns directly 99.9% of Infinity Investments, which is the limited partnership that Scott Patlis Richardson was talking about earlier today. And then indirectly, it also owns all of the shares of Métis Nation of Ontario General Partner, which is the general partner of Infinity Investments. So directly and indirectly, MNO Secretariat owns the entire interest in Infinity Investments limited partnership. And the reason for this structure is that it allows the Métis Nation of Ontario to participate in commercial activities while preserving its status as a not-for-profit corporation. And we have this complicated structure basically because of the legal regime that exists prior to the Métis Nation of Ontario being recognized as a government body. And when the MNO Secretariat was first established, the federal government and the provincial governments weren't recognizing the MNO as a governing body. So they need to create a format that would have legal recognition, if not government recognition. And so they adopted the form of forming a not-for-profit corporation because that was the best corporate structure that fit what the MNO wanted to do. The disadvantage of that structure is that a not-for-profit corporation is not permitted to carry on for-profit activities. And so we needed a structure that would allow the MNO to carry on for-profit activities. And so the way to do that was to establish the Infinity Trust. So turning to the next slide, you'll see this is basically the structure of the MNO, of the Infinity Trust. You have MNO Secretariat at the top. It's the sole beneficiary of the Métis Nation of Ontario Infinity Trust and is entitled to all the benefits that arise out of the Infinity Trust. And then under the Infinity Trust, you have Métis Infinity Investments, GP, which is a corporation, and that is the general partner of the Métis Infinity Investments, LP. And then you have the Métis Nation of Ontario Infinity Trust owning 99% of Infinity Investments, LP. And then it's under the limited partnership that all the projects are undertaken. So you have, and this isn't all inclusive, this isn't all the projects that Infinity Investments LP is doing, but these are the main ones. And I think Scott talked about these earlier. You have MNO Solar Inc., which is a very successful solar farm project. You've got Red Lake Plumbing and Heating, and you've got Switch Insurance. And then there are a number of other joint ventures. So Infinity Investments Limited Partnership is the main business instrument of the MNO, and it's responsible for holding, managing, and overseeing corporation's shareholdings and basically all the business interests of the MNO. We've set it up as a limited partnership because that's the most efficient for tax purposes. Because if we set up a separate corporation, that corporation would be subject to paying tax on its profits. And so you'd have an extra layer of tax. By using a limited partnership, the partnership earns income and then it flows that income up to Infinity Investments. Infinity Investments that can then flow that up to Infinity Trust. And so long as Infinity Trust then distributes that income up to the MNO Secretariat, which is a not-for-profit corporation. And as a not-for-profit corporation, it does not pay taxes. In that way, we're able to earn income on a very tax-effective basis. When we're leaving income in the partnership in order to capitalize it, because every partnership or every business ventures needs to retain some profit for capital and to fund future projects, then that income is subject to taxation. And so also noted as a slide, you'll see that the purpose of Infinity Investments is to identify and pursue economic opportunities, to operate, manage, and oversee active businesses, and to act as sort of a holding company for all subsidiaries and all other ventures. So who are the trustees of the Infinity Trust? You'll see this very stunning picture. Unfortunately, those are not your trustees. I was not able to find a picture of the four trustees, although I think it's I'd love to say it was a very good likeness of us, but unfortunately that's not true. Anyway, your trustees are President Fro, Councillor Rowlandson, and then Colin Salter and myself. President Fro and Councillor Rowlandson are appointees from the PCMNO. So the terms of the trust provide that two of the trustees are always appointees of the PCMNO, and then the other two trustees are intended to be independent trustees, not members of the PCMNO, but two people with business, legal, commercial, sort of outside experience that can be beneficial to Infinity Trust, and also are not members of the PCMNO. So it's not simply a replica of the PCMNO. And then the independent trustees are selected every 3 years by the existing trustees. So actually, Colin and my term are coming up for expiration. We've served multiple terms, and we think it's good to have fresh blood come in. So that will be one of the upcoming items for the trustees to do, is to find new replacements for Colin and myself. We will, however, continue to be available as advisors and legal counsel. So it's not as if we're stepping away, we're just changing roles. So I think I have spoken about this already. The taxation of the trust is set up so that income earned by the Infinity Trust is subject to tax if it's retained, but so long as it's distributed to its beneficiary, the MNO Secretariat, the trust doesn't have to pay tax on the income that it earns. It's quite important that all the business activities of the MNO be conducted by the Infinity Investments LP, because as part of its structure, the MNO Secretariat is a not-for-profit corporation, and so it doesn't pay tax on any of its income. If it was found to be a for-profit corporation because it carried on income earning activities for the purpose of earning income, it could lose that status. And then not only the business activities would be subject to income, but all of its income would be subject to tax. Any miscellaneous investments made, any income at all coming in would be subject to tax. So as advisors to the MNO, we're very careful to advise to say your business opportunities should go into infinity investments, and then all the other activities, governing activities, are done in the MNO, and that way you preserve your tax-free status. Now, hopefully, this is not a situation that will continue, because now that the federal and provincial governments are recognizing the MNO as a government, and you're currently in discussions with them as to the form, the structure that your new government will take, presumably we will be able to negotiate with the government that you'll have the same sort of taxation treatment as other government entities. I think your negotiating committee will push for treatment similar to a provincial government. The governments are going to probably resist that, and we'll end up negotiating somewhere something. We'll push for as close to a provincial government as we can, and the federal and provincial governments will probably try and give us slightly less powers, but we'll see where that goes. I hope you appreciate the information that I've given you. I've certainly, this is certainly not as enjoyable as actually appearing at the AGA, and I hope that I will be able to do that in the future. Thank you.